So good morning again, everybody. I'm Olivia. I'm the trainer for this Takeoff and Estimate software skills course. Alongside doing training, I'm the digital content author here at HPXL, which means I spend a lot of my time creating help materials, in particular the help videos that you might have seen on the website. My background is in teaching, but I've been working at HPXL for over 5 years now and training remotely for the last 3 years. So I'm really looking forward to helping get you up and running with this takeoff software, so using PlansXpress and Estimator Express. So thanks for signing up for the scheme, and thank you for joining the training today and over the next couple of weeks. So I'm guessing you're here perhaps because you want to reduce the amount of time you spend quoting. Builders in general spend a lot more time quoting than they would like to. You're obviously keen to embrace technology and to become more digital savvy. It may be that you're using technology in some ways with your business already, perhaps for your accounts. It may be that you've dabbled in CAD software or estimating software before. And especially in the environment that we're in at the moment, it may be that you feel you need to stand out. You need to create a point of difference between your firm and other building firms. And that is hopefully where we can come in. So I've just got a few PowerPoint slides. It'll only take a couple of minutes, and then we'll move directly into PlansXpress. So our fully funded software and training scheme is all about helping building firms become more profitable, to be the best versions of themselves. So through this particular software skills training, I hope to show you how you can speed up your estimating, how you can improve the accuracy of your estimates, how you can ensure that all of those hidden costs of a building project are covered so that you're not subsidising the project. And I'll hopefully show you how you can produce really professional looking quotes. So this is just a quick overview of the structure of the course. There are 4 modules. So we've got one today on Tuesday, one on Thursday of this week, and then we've got 2 more modules on Tuesday and Thursday of next week. They run from 10 till approximately 12 o'clock. Sometimes they can finish a few minutes earlier. Sometimes if we've got lots to get through, it might be a few minutes after that. So just to give you an overview of what we'll be covering. So today in Module 1, we will be looking at how to import plans into PlansXpress and how to trace over them to begin that takeoff process. We'll then move into Estimator Express. So from Module 2, we're going to be going into Estimator Express, looking at how we can set up the price book to reflect the prices that you pay. So making sure it's set up with your labour rates, tweaking the material prices so they reflect what you pay. We'll also be looking at the specifications and looking at how we can use the different specifications within Estimator Express. And again, how you can tailor the specifications to the way you work in your firm. The third module will be about importing your drawing from PlansXpress into Estimator Express in order to do the takeoff and finish the estimate. We'll also go through how we can add in preliminary costs, subcontract costs, and other elements that are not going to be on your drawing. And then Module 4 will be about the output side of things in Estimator Express, so looking at the build program, using the data reports within Estimator Express, and also looking at the customer quote. So that is our rough overview of what we're going to be covering over the next couple of weeks. So each session, I will focus on a few key areas of PlansXpress in the case of today's module, and then Estimator Express for the rest of the course. I'll show you how to do a task, and then hopefully you can follow along and have a go at your end. So ideally, you'll have a setup where you've got PlansXpress open on one screen and GoToWebinar on another, so that you can be watching and then copying at your end. Please do ask questions as we go along. If you've got a question in your mind, it's very likely that other people will be wondering the same thing. So please send your questions my way. I appreciate any questions you've got. In order to do that, on GoToWebinar, there is a section called Questions. So hopefully you can see the control panel on GoToWebinar. If you can't, you might need to expand it. There might be just a grey bar pinned to the side of your screen. On there, there's an orange button with an arrow. If you click on that, that will expand the GoToWebinar control panel. On there, there's a section called Questions. If you click on the arrow next to where it says Questions, that will expand the Questions section. And in there's a box that you can type into to communicate with me. So if you can find that question box and type in hello or something to show me that you found it and you've got a means of getting in touch, that would be really good. So find that question box, type me a hello. So as I say, I'm very happy to answer questions as we go along through the training. It may be that you've got another question that you want to save until the end of the session, so we always build in time for questions and answers at the end. So I can see some hellos popping up there, so that's brilliant. I'm glad you found that. So anything you want me to go over, if there's something you need me to repeat, something you want me to explain in more detail, if you want me to show you how to do something again, just use that question box, fire your queries to me. So as I said, we'll have a bit of time for questions and answers at the end of the session should we need it, and then we finish with a really quick quiz that just goes through some of the key learning points that we've covered during today's session. So that's the rough structure of the session. So what we're going to be doing is doing a takeoff for a really simple brick and block single story lean-to extension. So I've just put together some quick 3D visualizations so you can see the type of job we're going to be doing. So the idea is that I will show you all the basic principles that you need for importing your plans into PlansXpress, tracing over the plans to create your takeoff. And hopefully you'll build up the confidence that you need to have a go at doing that for your own projects. So that's the idea. In order to do that, we've emailed over a PDF containing some plans that we're going to use as the basis for our training. So hopefully you've received that from Joe Walsh. I think it might have been this morning that he sent that over to you. So in there's a PDF document. If you can download that onto your computer, if you download it onto your desktop or somewhere that you can easily locate, that would be really helpful because we're going to be importing that into PlansXpress in a moment. Okay, so that's the last of my slides, so we can get stuck into the software now. So if you can make sure your PlansXpress software is open, this is where we're going to start the training today. Okay, so module 1 is all about importing and tracing plans in PlansXpress. So in this module, you'll learn how to import PDF plans into PlansXpress and how to scale the plans. You'll practice tracing over walls, windows, doors, and structural openings, and you'll practice drawing a lean-to roof. You'll learn how to set items on the drawing to be non-estimated items, so that they're not included in the estimate when you import it into Estimator Express. And I'll also show you how you can view and navigate the 3D model, the 3D visualization of your plans. So it may be that some of you are using the full version of PlansXpress. So for example, if you signed up to Plus or Premium Edition, some of you might be using the cut down takeoff kit. Now there are some slight differences in the software depending on whether you're using Plus and Premium or Takeoff Kit. I'll explain any differences as we go along, so hopefully that should be clear depending on which edition you're using. So when you first launch PlansXpress, if you're using the full version, then you will get a screen which looks like this. You get this new drawing dialog box appearing on screen. If you have the Takeoff version, then there is no need to select drawing templates. They don't exist in the Takeoff version. So if you have the Takeoff version, bear with me for a minute or two, as you don't have to go through this template selection process. When you open up your software, when you have the Takeoff kit, you'll go straight to the import dialog box. If that's what you're looking at, that's great. Don't click on anything for now though. I'll do a quick intro to what we need to do for the full version, and then we'll pick up with where you are if you have the takeoff version in a minute or two. So if you are using the full version of PlansXpress, when you open your software, this new drawing dialog box appears. If you don't see that, for example, if your software is already open, you can get that dialog box to appear. You go to the File menu, so that's the purpley pink button on the top left of your screen with a document icon on it. So if you click on that menu there, hover your cursor over where it says New, and then there's an option called New from Template. So if you click on New from Template, that allows you to create a new drawing from a drawing template, basically. So it's a different way of getting this dialog box to appear. So using the new drawing box, you can select a drawing template. The template controls the page size, its scale, and its orientation. There are also options for templates with title blocks or notes blocks and without them. When you're planning to import a drawing into PlansXpress, so if you're doing a takeoff from a drawing you're going to import, the easiest way to do so is to select a drawing template which matches the size and scale of the drawing you're importing. So if you're importing an A4 set of plans with a 1 to 100 scale, then select an A4 1 to 100 page template. Make sure the orientation is correct, so it's landscape or portrait. What it means is that when you import your drawing, you don't need to rescale it because your scale is correct already. For our example today, we're going to select the A3 1 to 50 plain page option. It's about halfway down the list. A3 1 to 50 plain page. Once you've clicked on the template you want to use, click OK. And this drawing template will be opened up on screen. So I'm going to give you a quick tour of the PlansXpress screen. All of the tools that you need to draw your plans can be found on the ribbon at the top of the screen here. So this toolbar here, its technical name is a ribbon, and it has multiple tabs. So you can click on the tabs at the top to view and access all of the different tools. We're going to use several different tabs during the training today. If you have the takeoff version, the tabs are slightly different. They might have slightly different names, but I'll explain which tab you need to use as we go along. So the main part of your drawing screen here, I'll refer to as the drawing area. And at the bottom of the screen, we have what we call the command window. So the command window just gives instructions on how to draw or place each item as you go through placing it on screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by importing our existing plans. So it may be that you have some plans that the customer has given you. You may have some plans that the architect has sent to you. So you can import them into PlansXpress to begin the takeoff process. You can import existing plans from a scanned image. So it may be that you've scanned some plans and you've got them saved as an image file. You can import them from a PDF file, or you can import them from a CAD file. So all of the tools that you need to import and trace the plans is the Scan and Trace tab. So if you can click Scan and Trace. If you've got Takeoff Edition, I've nearly caught up with where you are, so hopefully it will all make sense in a moment. So the Scan and Trace tab contains all of the tools you need to import and take off existing plans. So the first button we need to press is the Import Drawing button. So if you click Import Drawing, then this Import Wizard screen will appear. You can import different file types, as I said. You can import a PDF, an image, or a CAD file. So a CAD drawing will cover file types like a DWG or DXF file, so the kind of file you get from AutoCAD. If you do import a CAD file, you can click on existing snap points on the drawing, which can make it quicker to trace over them. So if you have got a CAD file available to you, as I say, usually in the format DWG or DXF, then it's a good idea to import that file type because it will make the taking off process a bit easier. So as I said, if you've got takeoff version, your software will start on this screen with the import wizard open. So for our training today, we are importing a PDF, so we need to make sure the top option is selected. Of course, if you were importing an image or a CAD drawing, you would select the relevant option. So once PDF is selected, we're going to click Next. And then you need to locate the file that you want to import into PlansXpress. So I've saved it to my desktop. I always like to save my plans to the desktop. It's easy to find. So locate where the PDF is saved, click on it to select it, and then click Open. So then after a moment, you get a preview of your PDF. So this PDF actually has 2 pages to it. So if you click on the arrows at the top of the import wizard, you can move between the different pages. So you can see we've got some 3D visualizations, and then we've got our plans on the second page. So if you click along to the second page, this is the page that we're going to import, as it obviously contains the plans that we're going to trace over. Now this drawing is an A3 drawing with a 1:50 scale, so it's the same as our drawing page, so that should make life easier. Just to talk you through the other buttons that we've got at the top of the import wizard, we've got some rotation buttons. So sometimes the image or the PDF that you're importing might not be correctly orientated, so use those arrow buttons to rotate it. There's also, so the buttons allow you to rotate the image at 90 degrees, but if your drawing is slightly offset, sometimes annoyingly, if it's a scanned document or someone sent it over to you and it's not quite square, you might need to set the rotation. So there's an option to do that. So you can just type in the number of degrees it needs to be adjusted by. A bit fiddly if you need to do that, so hopefully you won't have to. The last option we've got here is the import quality. So you can use this slider to control the import quality from standard to better to best. The higher the quality of the drawing, the greater processing power it will require to display the image. So if you want to avoid overloading your computer's memory, we always suggest you start by importing at standard quality to begin with. 9 times out of 10, that will be absolutely fine. But if you find that importing at standard quality means your PDF is a bit blurry, then you can try importing again and select the better or the best quality. But always start with standard first. As I say, usually that's absolutely fine for our tracing over purposes. If you realise you've selected the wrong file at this point, you can click the folder icon at the top there to open an alternative PDF or an alternative document to import. So make sure you've got page 2 with the plans selected, and then click Finish. So we've finished selecting the PDF image that we want to import into PlansXpress. So now what you need to do is place the PDF image on the drawing page. So it hasn't automatically appeared because we can tell PlansXpress where we want to place it. Remember to refer to the command window. The command window will tell you how to draw or place every item that you want to add to your drawing. So the first instruction here is saying indicate where the first corner of this PDF will go. So if you have the full version, as I do here, you will see a drawing page on screen. You've got a page border there. So I suggest you use the bottom left of the drawing page as the first corner of your PDF. If you have takeoff version, you can click your mouse button anywhere towards the bottom left-hand corner of the drawing area. So whether you're using the bottom left-hand corner of the drawing page or just clicking on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen for takeoff edition, just click with your left mouse button, so click and release the left mouse button to place that first corner point. Okay, so whenever you're placing anything with PlansXpress, you click and release the left mouse button. You don't need to hold it down. So the next instruction says give the second corner point. So we're going to place the opposite corner of our PDF to insert it into our drawing here. So if you move your cursor up and to the right, as I've done, you'll see that that blue rectangle appears, showing you where the PDF is going to be placed. So obviously you're controlling the size of it. If you have the full version of PlansXpress, then what I suggest you do is focus in on the top right hand corner of your drawing page. If you don't have takeoff version, just stretch the PDF up to the top right of your drawing area and then click the left mouse button to place the second corner of the PDF. So when you match up with the page border, if you've got a full version, it will go below. So if you then click, that will place the PDF on screen. Okay, if you have zoomed in, so let me just tell you about zooming. With your mouse, with the scroll wheel on your mouse, you can zoom in on an area of interest within the drawing. So when you're doing detailed work, it's really handy to scroll in. So if I place my cursor over the proposed extension and then scroll the mouse wheel towards the screen, it will zoom in on the drawing. If I scroll the mouse wheel away from the screen, it will zoom out. So the zoom will focus in on the position of your cursor. So if I put my cursor over where it says ABC Architects down here, it will scroll in on that part of the screen. So you simply place your cursor where you want to zoom in, scroll towards the screen to zoom in, scroll away from the screen to zoom out. So it may be that you need to zoom out or adjust the position of your drawing. If you've zoomed in to place anything, you might need to zoom out again, but hopefully you can now see your PDF document on screen. So now I'm going to talk you through how you can rescale the PDF image, because there are always going to be times when you need to rescale your drawing. So I'm going to talk you through the process of doing that. So if you want to rescale the image, what you need to do is choose a scale line on the drawing if you've got one, or a dimension line which you're going to measure. The longer the line, the more accurate your rescaling will be. What we're going to do is use that existing dimension line on the drawing as a point of reference to rescale the drawing by. So the longest dimension line I've got on this drawing here is this one along the rear of the extension. So I'm zooming in. I'm going to place my cursor over the dimension line and scroll the mouse wheel towards the screen to zoom in. So the rear wall of this extension here we can see is 4,800 millimeters. So that's the longest dimension line I've got on this drawing. So let's use that one for measuring the scale and rescaling. So to rescale the drawing, what we need to do on this scan and trace tab, which is still open, we've got this measure image scale button. If you click where it says measure image scale, then we need to look to the command window, which is going to tell us how to measure the scale on the drawing. The first instruction says select the edge or outer frame of the image, so the PDF in this case, to measure its scale. So what we would need to do is select the PDF to tell PlansXpress that this is the PDF that we're going to be measuring. So what I suggest you do is zoom out so you can see the edge of the PDF, so you can see the black line around the edge. And then what you need to do is draw what we call a selection box from right to left. So to do that, click and hold down your left mouse button and drag your cursor to the left. You'll see a green selection box appears. Then you can release the left mouse button, and what happens then is the software selects the edge of that PDF image, so it knows it has the PDF selected. I'm just going to go through that process again, just because I know you can't actually see what's happening afterwards, so it can be a bit confusing. If you want to cancel anything you're doing at any point in PlansXpress, you can press the escape key on your keyboard. So I'm going to press escape, and that will cancel measuring the scale. I'm then going to start the process again. So I'm going to click Measure Image Scale again. It's prompting me to select the edge or the outer frame of the PDF. So again, I'm going to place my cursor within the PDF. I'm going to click and hold down that left mouse button and drag it to the left. Once that green selection box appears over the edge of the PDF, I can release the left mouse button, and that has selected our PDF. So PlansXpress now knows what it's measuring on. So the command window is now telling us to give the first point. So we're going to click on either end of that dimension line so that PlansXpress can measure and rescale based on that line. So again, I want to zoom in on this dimension line at the rear of the extension. So remember to zoom in, place your cursor over where you want to zoom in, and then scroll your mouse wheel towards the screen. So we need to click on either end of this dimension line to measure that line to allow PlansXpress to rescale it. So I'm going to click on the left-hand side of this dimension line first. So to do that, I'm going to zoom in even further. So place your cursor over the end of the dimension line and scroll your mouse wheel towards the screen. Zoom in as far as you want so you can confidently click on where the end of that dimension line will be. So once you place your cursor at the end of that dimension line, click the left mouse button to place the first end of the line that we're measuring. Okay, so just a single left mouse click. Then the instructions are telling us to give the second point. So we need to zoom out of the drawing. So scroll the mouse wheel away from the screen. It might also help to be able to drag our drawing page across. So if you want to drag the drawing page, you need to use your scroll wheel on your mouse, but this time you're going to hold it down. So click and hold down your mouse scroll wheel. You'll see that hand icon appears on your screen. And when that appears, you can then just move your mouse to move the drawing page. So again, I'm going to hold down the scroll wheel on the mouse, drag the drawing page to the left. I'm going to keep going until I get to the end of the dimension line. So this is sometimes called panning. So it's a way of moving around the drawing page. So you simply hold down the scroll wheel on the mouse and then you can move the drawing page wherever you want it to go. Okay, so combining that, dragging the drawing page around with zooming in using your scroll wheel, it's really important that you master those skills so that you can navigate easily around your drawing, because as you can see, just already we're doing a lot of moving around the drawing, focusing in on different aspects. So using that scroll wheel to do the zooming and the dragging of the page is really important. So once you've found the other end of the dimension line, hold down the Shift key on your keyboard. When you hold down the Shift key, PlansXpress will lock the dimension line into a 90-degree angle there, so it makes it perpendicular. So that makes sure that we're measuring the line in a straight line, basically. So place your cursor over where you think the end of the dimension line goes, zoom in a little bit if you need to. And then once you're happy that you've found the end of the dimension line, so still holding down the Shift key, I should say, then you can left click to indicate the end of the dimension line. Okay, so just to recap what we've done there, we have selected the edge of the PDF to tell PlansXpress that that's the image that contains the line that we're going to measure to rescale. Then we have clicked on each end of the dimension line, and then the final step is PlansXpress opens up the distance dialog box. So it's prompting you to enter the length of the line. So that dimension line was 4,800 mil. So type in the length of that line, or the length that it should be, and then click OK. And you see as we did that, the drawing was rescaled ever so slightly, because what PlansXpress is doing, I'm going to zoom back out again, what PlansXpress is doing here is it is comparing the actual measurement with what the measurement should be, and it is correcting the scale of the image. So that the image has now been rescaled. So now we know that the scale of the drawing is correct any elements that we trace over will also have accurate dimensions. So if we trace over the walls, then PlansXpress will accurately be measuring and taking off the length of those walls to use in our estimate later on. Okay, so we've imported our plans and we've rescaled them. So we are ready to get started with the taking off and the tracing. Now there's a special mode called trace mode, which we can use when we are tracing over existing plans. This allows us to clearly see the architectural elements that we're going to place on the drawing. So when we switch on trace mode, everything we draw appears in bold, so it can clearly be seen on the existing plans. So on the Scan and Trace tab, so as I said, this tab contains loads of really useful tools for when you're doing your import and your tracing. The Toggle Trace Mode button is the one we want to use. So if you click Toggle Trace Mode, that will switch on trace mode, and when we start drawing our walls, you'll be able to see them really clearly. That will become very obvious in a minute once we start doing the walls. Okay, so hopefully you're getting the hang of zooming in and out. So just to recap once again, to zoom in on an area that you want to focus in on the drawing, place your cursor in the area you want to zoom in and then scroll the mouse wheel towards the screen. To zoom out, just scroll away from the screen again. And to drag the drawing page around, click and hold down the scroll wheel and move the drawing page around. So it may be that you need to do those skills throughout the training today. So try and practice the zooming in, zooming out, and moving the drawing page around. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do before we start drawing our walls is to add some construction lines to the drawing. So placing construction lines on the drawing allows you to quickly draw architectural items by clicking on snap points on the construction lines. It may be that you want to trace over the drawing without using construction lines, so you could just select the wall tools and just click directly onto the walls, but using the construction lines will improve the accuracy of your takeoff. And construction lines are just quite handy to know how to use anyway for your drawing, because you might use them when you're setting out your own drawings, or if, for example, you wanted to do a drainage layout or something. Knowing how to use construction lines is really helpful. So if you have the full version, go to the Drawing and Annotation tab. If you have Takeoff Kit, then go to the Drawing Tools tab. So in Takeoff Kit, a number of the tools are combined onto the Drawing Tools tab. So just to repeat that, so for full version, go to Drawing and Annotation. For Takeoff Kit, go to Drawing Tools. And on there you will find a set of tools which deal with construction lines. And the tool that we want is the vertical construction line tool. So you can see we've got horizontal and vertical ones. Those ones are going to be the ones you use the majority of the time, but you can also do angular construction lines, circular construction lines, and so on. So for now, click where it says vertical construction lines. And then if you move your cursor onto the screen, you'll see that your cursor is controlling the position of the construction line. So what we're going to do is we're going to place some vertical construction lines from the left-hand side of our drawing. So we're going to click on the left-hand side of the existing building and on either side of the proposed extension. So to do that, again, we might want to zoom in on the drawing so we can see the edge of the wall more clearly. So place your cursor on the left-hand external wall of the existing building. Scroll your mouse wheel towards the screen and you'll focus in on that external wall. So all you want to do is place that construction line over the external side of that wall. Once you're happy with its position, left click, click and release as we did before to place that first construction line, and you'll see it turns blue. You'll see that PlansXpress is ready to draw another vertical construction line. So you can just keep going, repeatedly placing construction lines as you need to. You don't need to select that vertical construction line tool again. So we're now going to zoom in on the left-hand wall of the extension. So it may be that you need to drag the drawing page, and it may be that you want to scroll in using the mouse wheel. So zoom in on that left wall of the extension, place your cursor over the external leaf, and then click to place the second vertical construction line. And I'm going to hold down the scroll wheel on my mouse to drag the drawing page over again. I'm going to zoom in on the right hand wall of the extension and the existing building, scroll in, zoom in, and then left click to place that third vertical construction line, and scroll out and you can have a look at how it's looking. Okay, so once you've placed those 3 vertical construction lines, we then want to place a couple of horizontal construction lines. So to do that, we can click directly onto the horizontal construction line button on the ribbon at the top of the screen, and you'll see we're now holding a horizontal construction line. Okay, so we're going to place these horizontal construction lines on the rear of the existing building and on the rear of the extension. So zoom in on the rear wall of the existing house. Zoom in as close as you want to so you can accurately click to place this construction line. And then I'm going to zoom out again by scrolling my mouse wheel away from the screen. I'm going to drag my drawing page over by holding down that scroll wheel on the mouse, and then I'm going to zoom in on the back of the extension. Again, zoom in as far as you need to so that you can accurately find that line on the external side of the rear wall of the extension, and then click to place that horizontal construction line. So then hopefully you'll end up with a drawing something like that. So you've got 3 vertical construction lines and 2 horizontal construction lines. Once you've placed those 2 horizontal construction lines, press the escape key on your keyboard. Remember, clicking escape always cancels the last action. So whatever you're doing, it will cancel and drop the construction drawing line tool in this case. So now the construction lines are in place, we can trace the external walls. As I said earlier, you can trace over the external walls anyway, and I'll show you how you would do that without the construction lines there to do it as accurately as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by drawing the rear wall of the existing house. Of course, that doesn't need to be estimated, but we do need to draw the wall so that we can estimate the structural opening, which we're going to put in there, and also so that we can tee the new roof into the existing building, because it's a lean-to roof that's going to be abutting this rear wall of the house. So we need to draw the wall. Once we've drawn it, we will set it to be non-estimated so that we don't add it to the estimate, because the client's not going to thank you for that, are they? So if we click on the Architectural tab, the Architectural tab contains all of the architectural drawing tools, so all of the building elements that you might need for your drawing. So the first button here contains a drop-down menu for external walls. So if you click on where it says external with the drop-down arrow here, that will expand the menu of all the different external wall types. So you'll see that PlansXpress comes with a range of external wall types, from traditional masonry cavity walls to timber frame to SIPs and ICF walls. There's also a load of sundry items associated with your walls, so wall starters, toothing in, things like brick piers, and all sorts of different garden walls, sleeper walls, retaining walls and basement walls in there as well. So for our plans today, we're going to be selecting the very top wall type, which is just a traditional brick and block cavity wall. So if you hover your cursor over where it says brick and block cavity wall, you'll see this list of different templates opens up. So the templates allow you to select the wall height for the wall you're selecting, the wall you're drawing. So we're going to go for the ground floor cavity wall, 2.325 high, multi-story wall. So it's the 5th one down in the list. We have multi-story templates and single-story templates. The difference is that for a multi-story template, it adds the thickness of the floor above. So if you select a 2.325 high floor to joist height template, it will then add 225 mil for the floor above. So the overall wall height will be 2,550 mil, won't it? So it will be 2.55 high wall overall. A single story template doesn't add that 225 mil for the floor above onto it because there isn't one, obviously. So the template heights here that are given are for the floor to joist height, and as I said, if you select a multi-story template, it will add the thickness of the floor above onto the wall height. So select that 5th option down. So we've selected the wall height. When we do that, the dimensions wizard will appear. So from within the dimensions wizard, you can enter the key dimensions of the wall. The dimensions highlighted in yellow are all of the dimensions which are used to draw the wall. So for example, the height of the wall, the thickness of each leaf, the external leaf and the internal leaf. So those are all used to draw your plans. Of course, they're also used for estimating as well. But the white boxes here, they don't impact on your drawing. So the height of coursing blocks will not have any impact on the appearance of your walls in the drawing, but of course it will impact on the estimate for your walls. So here you can review the thickness of your brick external leaf and your block inner leaf, and you could tweak those if you needed to, but I'm happy to leave them as they are for this example. And you can see on the left hand side here we've got the overall height of the main wall, and there you can see it's 2.55 meters high. So of course you want to review each of these dimensions carefully, make any changes as you need to, and then you can click next. So the next screen of the dimensions wizard deals with the foundations. So as we're not actually estimating these walls, we can quickly skip through these screens. In fact, we're only actually interested in the wall height and the wall thicknesses, the leaf thicknesses here. These are the only things that are relevant for the existing wall that we're drawing. Of course, when you come to estimate your walls, so for the extension walls, then you're going to want to go through the foundation details and the subsequent screens within the wall dimensions wizard. For now though, we can fast track through this by clicking accept defaults. So we've now selected the specification of wall, we've checked those key dimensions, and we're now ready to draw the walls. So the command window is telling us to give the start point, so we need to click on the start point of our walls. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw this existing wall from the back left to the back right of the house. So what I'm going to do is zoom in on the point where these construction lines meet. So if you haven't got construction lines, all you need to do is zoom in on this back left corner of the house. So if you have construction lines here, then you'll notice these snap points appear. Snap points might be intersection points, there's also end points, perpendicular points, and so on. They help you accurately place items by snapping to other things on screen. So where two construction lines meet or intersect, we get this intersection point. And you'll see that word intersection pops up next to your cursor, so it tells you what point it is that you're snapping to. If you can't see snap points, you might need to switch on snap mode. To do that, press the F7 key on your keyboard. So once you've located that intersection snap point, or if you're not using construction lines, once you've placed your cursor over that rear corner of the existing house, then left click to place the first point of the walls. So with everything you're placing on screen, you don't need to hold down the left mouse button, you just click it and release it. So I'm not holding down any mouse buttons now. So if I zoom out a little bit, you'll see my cursor is now controlling the position of this wall. The arrow that appears next to the wall, that shows us the external side of the wall. So it's telling us that the outside of the wall is above the wall that we're drawing here, which is correct. You'll notice this set of wall tools has appeared on the ribbon at the top of the screen. Whenever you're drawing your walls, these options will appear. They allow you to change the external side of your wall. So if the arrow was pointing in the wrong direction and the external side of your walls was incorrect, you could use this external side drop down here to change the external side of the wall. So I've changed that to right, and now you can see that the arrow is pointing inwards. So it thinks the external side of the wall is on the inside of the building, which is clearly incorrect. So you can use the external side drop down box to change the external side, and of course that makes sure that your external leaf goes on the outside and your internal leaf goes on the inside. If that's the wrong way around, then you'll end up with blockwork on the outside of your walls, which you obviously don't want for a brick and block cavity wall. So that's the first thing you need to consider, the external side of the wall. There's a shortcut key on your keyboard for changing the external side as well, and that's the F key, F standing for flip. So you can press the F key on your keyboard, that will flip the wall over and change the external side as well. So you can change the external side that way. The other thing we need to consider is what we call the justification. Now, the justification tells PlansXpress which side of the wall you want to place with your mouse clicks. So at the moment we're placing the left-hand side of the wall with our mouse clicks. And the red line on the wall indicates the justification. I'll just show you, if I change the justification to right, you'll see that we're now placing the right-hand side of the wall, and that affects the position of the wall. So you need to make sure the justification is correct. There are right and left options, and there's also a center option. Sometimes when you're placing certain things, it's helpful to be able to place the middle of it. In this case, we want the justification set to left, so that our external walls are sitting nicely over the PDF plans that we've imported. So there's a shortcut key for changing the justification as well, and that's simply the J key. If you press J on your keyboard, that will switch between the justification options. Okay, so once the justification is set to left, the external side is set to left, then you're ready to carry on placing your walls. So you'll see the command window is telling you to give the next point. As I've done, you might want to zoom out of your drawing a little bit, drag the drawing page over to the left, so hold the mouse scroll wheel down to do that. And then we need to place the opposite end of this existing wall. So again, if you've got construction lines, you can zoom in and find a snap point to snap to. It might be that you find the intersection point, so that's telling us where those construction lines meet, or it may be that you find a perpendicular point. So the perpendicular point is the point on this vertical construction line, which is perpendicular with the one we've just placed. So they're actually referring to the same point, because the intersection point and the perpendicular point are at exactly the same position on the drawing. So whichever snap point you find, you can left click to place the end of your wall. If you don't have those construction lines there, then again it's just a case of finding that point on the wall and holding down the shift key. Remember, holding down the shift key will keep your wall straight. Hold down the shift key and then left click to place the end of your wall. So I'm just going to zoom out. PlansXpress is ready to continue drawing walls, because it might be that you want to draw a complete loop of walls. In this case, we're literally just drawing the rear wall of the existing building. So to drop the external wall tool, we can press the escape key on our keyboard, and that will drop that tool. So I've just noticed that I can't actually see my external walls at the moment. if you go to the Scan and Trace tab and click Toggle Trace Mode, that will switch on trace mode if it isn't already on. I think I must have switched it off earlier. So that would clearly show you the outline of your external walls. So of course, if you wanted to, you could draw the entire existing building. If you want to put together some 3D visualizations that you can print out, show to your client, then that might be what you want to do. For the training today, we're just going to quickly draw the extension and assume that we're just doing the estimate, that we're not bothered about creating a full 3D model. Okay, so that's our existing wall drawn, but we now need to set it to be non-estimated. So this means Estimator Express will not estimate the wall later on when we import the plans. So in order to set this to be non-estimated, first of all, we need to click on the wall to select it. So to select anything on screen, we simply place our cursor over it and click the left mouse button. When an item is selected, you'll see these red and blue handles appear, so those squares along the wall, they appear. Those handles can be used to move and modify the wall, but they also are just a helpful indicator that the wall has been selected. So now we've selected the wall, we can set it to be non-estimated. If you've got the full version of PlansXpress, go to the Modify and Selection tab. If you've got Takeoff Kit, go to the Drawing Tools tab. So Modify and Selection for full version, Drawing Tools for Takeoff Kit. And then within there, on the right-hand side, you will find a button called Set Selection as Non-Estimated. So this button will take the item that you've selected and make sure it's not estimated. Click on that button. A box appears asking if you're sure you want to set it to be non-estimated. Simply click Yes. If you want to double check that it's not estimated, hover your cursor over the external walls. You'll see a list of properties of the wall there. And at the bottom there, the last category is estimated. So is it estimated? No. Okay, so we know we've drawn that wall and it's now non-estimated. So now that's in place, we can draw the new walls for the extension. Okay, so we're going to go back to the architectural tab. This is where all of the building elements are. We're going to click on the external walls drop-down menu. So we click on the arrow at the bottom. We're going to hover our cursor over brick and block cavity wall. And this time we're going to select the 6th template down, the ground floor cavity wall, 2.325 high, single story template, because it's a single story extension that we're drawing here. Click on that to select it. And our dimensions wizard pops up. So this is identical to the wall dimension wizard we saw before. So page 1 prompts you to enter the dimensions of the wall. So the information you enter into the dimensions wizard is required to draw the walls. So the yellow input boxes are used for the drawing, and also all of the white input boxes are used for estimating purposes. So you need to consider all of those input boxes so that when you import your drawing into Estimator Express, the estimating is done for you. So review the dimensions in here. So our wall is 2.325. That's the template we selected, so that's great. Let's say we're happy with the thickness of each leaf. Click Next. So page 2 looks at the foundations. So before we go any further, we can switch on what we call tech tips. So you'll see there's 2 tick boxes at the bottom of the dimensions wizard. Click Show Tech Tips. And then if I click into the foundation width here, you'll see on the top right of the screen, you get what we call a tech tip. So a little bit of help which explains what you need to enter for that particular dimension. So here we've got the width of the foundation. We've got the foundation depth below site strip. We've got the structural concrete thickness, but also a mass concrete thickness for if you need to pour mass concrete. That's set to 0 by default, but there is the option in there if you need it. So all of these foundation dimensions can be tweaked as needed. We're going to leave them as they are for today, but of course you would adapt them to suit your job. So on the right hand side, there are 2 more boxes here. So the top one is about planking and strutting the excavation. So I'm going to set that to no. So click on the drop down box, select no, it's a shallow excavation. Of course you might not need to. Underneath this we've got the bulking factor of excavated material. So this is the factor by which the soil will bulk up when it's removed from the ground and put into a skip or a tipper or whatever. So typically soil will increase in volume by about 50%, so I'm told. I've never tested the theory. So this factor here, this number here, goes towards calculating how many skips are required for the spoil. So just so you understand what that's talking about. So of course, again, just to reiterate, the information we're entering here will allow PlansXpress to accurately estimate the cost of building the walls from foundations upwards. So assuming you're happy with all those details, you can click Next. So page 3 is all about our footings. There's obviously quite a lot of dimensions in there, so you might want to use the other tick box at the bottom, which is tech labels. So if you tick tech labels, then you get some labels identifying the different parts of the footing there that can help you work out what it is that you need to enter. So remember, the yellow input boxes will impact on your drawing. So the splash course depth, for example, will appear in any elevations you do if you draw elevations. And of course, the cavity width will affect the width of the cavity as drawn in plan, and that will also impact on your 3D model as well. So they're highlighted in yellow just to let you know that they're going to affect the drawing. All of the white options, of course, are needed for estimating your walls. So I'm not going to change these dimensions. They're set up with fairly typical dimensions, but of course you can change them as you need for your job. So spend a moment clicking into the different input boxes, seeing what it is that you're being asked to enter. And of course, when you're using it for real estimates, then of course you would change those as you need to. So on the right hand side of the screen, we've got a couple of options for insulation and DPC. So they're both set to yes, as you'd expect. So once you're happy with the footing details, click Next. And the final page of the Dimensions Wizard deals with finishing options, so plastering and decoration. So on the right hand side, we've got 5 options covering plastering, decoration, fitting of skirting boards, and priming and decoration of those skirting boards. So the number of skirting boards is set to 1 because it's a single story wall. So set these to whatever suits you and then click Finish. Okay, so PlansXpress is now ready to draw the walls as we've specified them. So again, the command window is telling us to give the start point. So what I'm going to do is draw the external walls starting on the right hand side of the extension, and we're going to trace our way around the extension here. So you might want to zoom in on your extension. So use the scroll wheel on your mouse to do that. So I'm going to locate the intersection point or end point at the end of this wall here that we've already drawn to click onto for the start of our extension. So if you haven't got construction lines in place, then of course you can just click onto the end point of the existing wall. So whichever end point you find there or intersection point, left click to start drawing your extension walls. As always, click to place the start of the walls. Don't hold down the left mouse button, just click and release it. So you'll remember that the arrow identifies the external side of the wall. So at the moment that's incorrect. So we can change the external side of the wall by pressing the F key on the keyboard. So click F for flip, and that will put the external side of the wall on the correct side. However, my wall is still not in the correct position, and that's because I need to change the justification of my wall. So at the moment, it's saying I'm placing the left-hand side of the wall, but what I actually want to do is place the right-hand side of the wall. So either pressing the J key on your keyboard or using the justification drop-down box, set it to right. And once you've done that, you'll see that your walls are appearing in the correct place. Okay, so the command window is telling us to click the next point. So if you've got construction lines in place, you can find that perpendicular snap point or an intersection point. If you haven't got construction lines in place, what you need to do is hold down the Shift key on your keyboard and zoom in on the corner of the wall, and then just left click to place the wall as accurately as you can. Remember, the Shift key is going to keep that wall nice and straight for you. So whichever way you do it, click to place that second corner of the extension. So I've zoomed out by scrolling my mouse wheel away from the screen, and I've dragged the drawing across by holding down the scroll wheel on my mouse. Then I'm going to zoom in a little bit to find the next corner. Again, locate that intersection point or perpendicular point. If you are tracing freehand, hold down the Shift key and find the corner of that wall. Click to place that point. And then this last click should be quite easy. All we need to do is find that perpendicular point on the back wall of the house, the existing house, and then click to place the end of the extension wall. So once you've finished placing your wall, press the Escape key to tell PlansXpress you've done drawing the walls. I'm going to zoom out so I can have a look at what I've done. Of course, if you've got internal walls in the plans you're tracing over, then you can draw them in exactly the same way. Trace over them in exactly the same way. So this wall doesn't seem to have quite teed in properly. If that's the case, you can click the refresh button, which is at the top right of your screen. It's the green circle with arrows on. You click refresh, you'll see the wall tees in. So you might want to have a quick look at your 3D view. So your 3D view window might be on the right hand side of your screen here. If it's not, go to the Views in 3D tab and click the 3D preview button. That will open up this 3D preview window. So you can navigate your way around the model. At the moment, we're just looking at the inside of this rear wall of the house, which isn't very interesting. But we can rotate the drawing. So click and hold down your left mouse button. So this time we're clicking and holding down the mouse button. And we can drag the model. If you move your cursor left to right, that will drag your model around so you can see the extension there starting to come together. And you'll see, because the existing wall was a multi-story template, there's that extra 225mm. So it's a little bit taller than the lean-to that we're drawing. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to place an opening in the existing external wall. So we're going to place this structural opening from the existing house to the extension. Once you import the drawing into PlansXpress, PlansXpress will estimate the cost of forming the opening in the existing wall, and of course it will estimate for the universal beam, the pad stones, engineering bricks, plastering to the reveals, and so on. So to place our structural opening, we need to go to the Architectural tab, and then we need to click the Openings and Steelwork drop-down menu. So within the Openings and Steelwork drop-down menu, we've got a variety of different opening types. We've got what we call structural openings and then small structural openings. The small structural openings are anything up to the size of a door. If it's bigger than a door, just use a structural opening. You'll see we've got various different templates set up there. We've also got steel beams, steel posts and glulam beams. So for this opening here, we're going to put a structural opening into an existing wall. And we're going to select the medium-sized template, so the middle template. So click on that medium opening template, and our structural opening dimensions wizard opens up. So there's several things we need to look at here. First of all, we need to check the opening width and the opening height. So let's set the width of this opening to 3.6 meters. So we've started with a medium opening, but you can tweak the dimensions of that as you need to. The height of the structural opening is set to 2.1, which is obviously very standard, so I'll leave that as it is. Then we've got the lintel bearing at each end, again set to a typical 150 mil, but you can change that if you need to. On the right hand side, we have several options here for packing the underside of the lintel. So you'll probably want pad stones set to yes as default, and then you can enter the number of bricks and slates required for packing. Here we've got another bulking factor for spoil, that's set to 2. So what that means is that the bricks and blocks which are removed from the opening are going to take up about twice as much space in the skip as they do when they're in the wall. So again, this figure has helped to work out how much of a skip is required for the spoil from the opening. So once you're happy with those details, click Next. So on the next screen, we've got the reveal depth. So let's say the existing wall is 300 mil. Set that to 0.3. And then we've got some other details like the spacing of the noggings, the length of the noggings, whether the reveals are going to be plastered. That's set to yes by default. Number of angle beads needed if you are plastering, and the number, and whether the reveals are painted or not. So again, it's assuming you're going to decorate them, but you could set that to no if the client wanted to do it, for example. So once you've just reviewed those options, click Finish. And the command window is telling us to give the insertion point on the wall. So it's basically telling us where do you want the structural opening to go. So what you need to do is place your cursor over the rear wall of the house, and you'll see a symbol appears for the structural opening. So you might want to scroll in a little bit. So we can see on the original drawing where the structural opening went. So we simply want to try and line up this symbol as much as we can with the structural opening underneath. So once you're happy with its position, using the original plans as a guide, click the left mouse button to place the structural opening, and those lines will appear indicating where the opening is. Now, PlansXpress, eager as ever, is ready to place another structural opening. So whenever you place openings like doors, windows, and structural openings, it will allow you to place multiple openings in one go. So if you only need to press to place one, then press the Escape key to drop that tool. And now it's not trying to place more structural openings. So that's the structural opening placed. So now we can draw our slab. That will only take a minute or two. So to start drawing your slab, on the architectural tab, you want the flooring drop-down menu. So click on the arrow underneath where it says flooring. And just under halfway down, we've got the floor slabs option. If you look, we've got a list of different house slabs. We're going to go for the extension slab, and you'll see you can choose from reinforced or unreinforced. Let's select the unreinforced slab for this job. So we're now looking at the dimensions wizard for our slab. As with all of the dimensions wizards, we can switch on those tech tips, which give us an idea what we need to type in, on the tech labels to show us what the diagram here is illustrating. So once you're happy with the thickness of sand blinding and sub base, you might want to tweak them, but we'll leave them as they are for now. Click next. So this screen deals with the thickness of the slab. So if you want to make that a bit thicker, perhaps it needs to be 150 mil. You can type in 0.15. And then we can check the options on the right hand side. So whether we want to include DPM, whether there's insulation to the underside of the slab, whether there's reinforcement below or above the slab. Set to no because we selected an unreinforced slab template. If you selected the reinforced template, they would be set to yes. Is it power float finished? Let's say we're going to set that to no. And we click next. And then the final screen is all about the plant required for this concrete slab. So what you would need to do is go through and type in the number of hours you think an excavator is needed to prepare for the slab. Let's say 4 hours. How many days a plate compactor is needed? Let's say a day. I won't go through all of it, but you can just see this is where you can type in what plant you're going to need, and that's going to be added to your estimate. In fact, I'll just say we need wheelbarrow for a day, shovel for a day. We don't need bolt croppers because there's no reinforcement. 1 day of concreting vibrator. We don't need a power float. Number of deliveries and collections. So once you've just reviewed your plant requirements, click finish. And now, of course, we need to place the slab on screen. So follow the instructions. The first instruction is saying give the first corner of the floor. Ignore the part about on supporting wall. That is for when you are placing suspended floors. So it doesn't matter which way around you do a slab. So this could be the first side of the slab that we're marking out, or you could do this side. It doesn't matter which way. Of course, when you're doing suspended floors, the orientation of your joists is relevant. So give the first corner point. So click on any one of the corners of the extension on the inside of the wall. Then it's saying give the second corner of the floor. So I'm going to click on the opposite corner. And then the final instruction says indicate the length of the floor. Again, the bit in brackets refers to a suspended floor. So this time we don't need to click in a corner necessarily. We just want to move our cursor over to the opposite side of the room. So you can see your cursor is controlling the size of this rectangle here. Snap to a nearest snap point, or you could snap to an end point on the corner. Whichever way you choose to do it is fine. You'll see that pale grey rectangle appears, showing where the slab has gone. So it's now asking, do we want to place some perimeter insulation? Click yes. Here we can just review the depth of the perimeter insulation. Leave that set to 250 mil for now. Click finish. And now it's just a case of drawing around the perimeter of the floor of the slab to place where the insulation will go. So again, it doesn't matter which corner you start on. Just find an end point on one corner of the floor, and then you might want to zoom in a little bit to make sure you're clicking on the right point. Find an end point. So you might need to hold down that scroll wheel to drag the drawing page around. Find an end point, or you might occasionally find a perpendicular point. Either will do. Click all the way around the perimeter of the slab, and then click back to the circle where you started. So we've clicked on all 4 points and then back to the start. You can see PlansXpress is ready to carry on doing perimeter insulation, but we're just going to click Escape to finish drawing that length of insulation. It will ask us again if we want to place some more. That's because you can do multiple lengths for multiple rooms if applicable, but for now we can just click No. So that's the concrete slab in place and the perimeter insulation drawn. So if we go to the 3D view, you can now see there's a floor in place there. Okay, so we've got the shell of the extension there now, so let's place our doors and windows. So let's add the bifold doors next. So if we go to the architectural tab again, if it's not already open, find the drawers drop-down menu, click on the arrow at the bottom, and within that menu you can see we've got external doors, so front doors, back doors, garage pedestrian doors. We've got internal doors, so just typical internal doors, fire doors, double doors. We've got patio doors, bifold doors, French doors, garage doors. So all of your doors are within this menu basically. So we want the bifold door option. So hover your cursor over bifold doors, and then we want the bifold patio doors aluminium option, the red one. It won't necessarily appear in red in your drawing, by the way. So then you need to select a template again. So the crucial thing here is the width of the bifold. So we're going to select the 3 meter 4-panel door. So 3000 by 2100 4-panel. So it's 6th in the list, right in the middle actually. So select the 3000 by 2100 4-panel bifold. And now, as with all of the architectural elements, you get the chance to review the dimensions in the dimensions wizard. So the door frame should be set correctly based on the template we've selected. Click Next. So we've got the reveal and jam details here. And of course, these are highlighted in yellow, so it will affect how the door appears in our plans. So you might want to tweak these. Click Next. The third page deals with plastering and threshold details. So you can indicate whether you want to reveal, whether you want to plaster the reveals, not reveal the plaster. If the sill's going to be plastered, if there's an internal threshold board, and some dimensions associated with the threshold board if you are. So if we click Next, the final screen, I'm whizzing through these. Of course, if you are estimating, then you're going to want to review them in a bit more detail. But just to give you an overview of what's going on. The fourth page deals with the decorating options, so you can decide whether you're going to decorate the threshold board, the sills, the reveals, the door frame internally and externally, and the door internally and externally. So of course, because this is an aluminium door we've got selected, these are all set to no, because the door will be delivered finished, decorated, won't it? Okay, so if you're happy with all of those estimating options there, click Finish, and you're now ready to place the door. So the process is exactly the same as it was for placing our structural opening. We can use the original plans as a guide to place the door. So place your cursor over where the bifolds are on the rear of the extension, and adjust your cursor until you're happy with the position of the door, and then left click to place the bifold. Now the instructions are now asking us to give the door alignment, and you can see that the position of our cursor here is indicating whether we want to open the doors outwards or inwards. So for some doors, such as single internal doors, you can also select the hinge side at this point. So alignment deals with the direction of opening and also the hinge side. So if you move your cursor to the external side of the wall, then the doors will open outwards. if you place your cursor on the inside of the wall or inside the building, then they will open inwards. So let's say they're opening outwards on this occasion. So left click to set the alignment of the door so that they open outwards. So again, PlansXpress is ready to keep on drawing doors. So what we need to do is press the escape key to drop that door insertion tool. If we have a look at our 3D view here, you can see our bifolds are now in place. So it's starting to come together. Okay, so now let's add this window on the left hand side of the extension. So if we go to the Windows drop down menu, again you'll see we've got a wide range of softwood, hardwood, PVC windows, shop windows even. So we're going to go towards the bottom to the PVCU standard windows, and we're going to select PVCU windows, and we're then going to click 112C 600 by 1200 window. So again, you can quickly review the dimensions of your window. The height and width are dictated by the template you've selected. You might also want to review the height of the lintel. That will impact on where the window appears, of course, in your elevations. So we'll quickly go through the different options here. Reveal and jam details, as with your door. Plastering and sill details. And finally, the decoration details for your window. So assuming you're happy with all those estimating options, click Finish. The command window, again, is telling us to give the insertion point. So hopefully this is becoming more obvious as we go on. So with Windows doors opening, the process is exactly the same. Zoom in on where you want to place your window. You'll see the symbol appears there. Once you're happy with the position of the window, left click to place it, and then click the escape key. We've only got one window of this set of dimensions to place. I'm going to zoom out. You can see our plans are coming together. You can see the windows appeared in the 3D model. So of course you can add staircases to your plans if you need to at this point. You can add plumbing, you can add electrics, you can add kitchens, bathrooms, drainage, and of course with each element you place, you're building up your estimate as you go along. Alternatively, there might be some components that you want to estimate from within Estimator Express. There might be some items that you think, well, it's not worth my while placing them on the plans. I will, for example, add my plumbing and heating directly into my estimate. I'll do that at a later point. So it's up to you which elements you add onto your drawing and which elements you add onto your estimate later on. So there's one more element that I really want to show you, and that is the roof. So for our roof, it's a really simple lean-to roof, this extension. So if we go to the roofs drop-down menu, click on the drop-down arrow underneath where it says roofs. So here you select the roof type you want. So we've got cut and truss roofs at the top. We've got smaller versions of those roofs if you want to draw dormer roofs, bay roofs, and so on. We've got SIPS roofs, flat roofs, and then we've got a number of roof light and Velux options as well to place into your roofs. So we're going to use the very top option, which is cut roof, and we're going to select the typical 30-degree cut roof. So click where it says typical 30-degree cut roof. So we're in the roof dimensions wizard now. So from here we can change the roof pitch if you need to. For a lean-to roof, you only need to worry about the pitch of the roof on side 1. So I'm going to change that to 15 degrees. It's a rather low pitch roof. Ignore pitch of roof side 2. That's only for if you're drawing an apex roof, which has 2 slopes. Check you're happy with the overall thickness of the roof. It's highlighted in yellow, so that means it's used to draw the roof. so you can change that if you need to. This input here refers to barn hips, so if an option is not relevant to the type of roof that you're drawing, just skip over it. You obviously don't need to worry about barn hips in this example. So click Next. So on the next screen, you can check the soffit widths to the gables and the soffit widths to the eaves. Those can be adjusted again if you need to. For now, I'm just going to leave them as they are. Going to click Next. So we've got some more options here on the roof structure. So things such as the rafter centres, joist centres, really crucial for the estimating of your timbers. You can review them if you need to. As always, everything is set to really sensible, typical default values to start with. Here you can decide if you want barge boards, type in the height of your barge boards, whether you want fascias and what the height of the fascias are, and so on. So we'll assume we're happy with all of that. Click Next. So this next screen deals with insulation and roof coverings. So the one thing you'll want to check here is the roof covered with sarking board? If you're working north of the border, you might need to set that to yes. And then click Next again. And the final screen deals with roof finishes. So there's a pattern to the way the dimension wizards work, and they normally end with the finishes, so decoration and plastering where appropriate. So once you're happy with all of your estimating options, if you click Finish, now when drawing roofs you get this extra screen. This is asking you to select your roof type. So hopefully it's fairly self-explanatory. So if you're drawing an apex roof or an apex valley or an apex abutting a wall, you can select the apex roof top option. And the same for hipped roof. You can do a half hip, and again you can do a valley with a hip or a hip abutting a wall. So you can see the various permutations you can do within the hipped roof. Of course, we want to select the lean-to roof option. You can click anywhere on the diagram or where it says lean-to roof or on the button. So select lean-to roof and then click OK. Now PlansXpress is of course ready to draw our lean-to roof. There are 4 steps to drawing a lean-to roof. Follow the on-screen instructions, they'll guide you through the process. There's just a couple of tips that I'm going to give you today that hopefully will help you with the roof drawing process. So the first instruction says indicate the wall line that the roof is on. PlansXpress will take the wall plate height from the wall that we click on. So it doesn't really matter which extension wall you click on, but make sure you click on one of the extension walls. I'm going to do the rear wall. That will give the software the wall plate height. The next instruction tells you to indicate the outer corner of the building. So in the case of a lean-to roof, the outer corner means the bottom of the gable. So I'm going to click on the left-hand side here. So on the outer corner of our lean-to roof, find that intersection point or end point on the corner of your walls, and then click to place that outer corner of the building. So the next instruction tells you to indicate the second corner for the width of the building. When it talks about the width of the building, it means that gable end. So I'm going to click on this inner corner here. So this is at the top of the lean-to roof. So I'm going to find an intersection or an endpoint here and then left click to place that second corner for the width of the roof. Finally, it's telling us to indicate the corner for the length of the building. So now we're going to click on the opposite end of our building. So locate the endpoint on the bottom of the gable at the other end of the lean-to, and then click to register the length of our roof. After a moment, those roof lines will appear on the drawing, and a box pops up asking if you want to add some extras. So do you want to add flat ceiling, vaulted ceiling, purlins, binders, and rainwater pipes? So let's say yes, we want to add a vaulted ceiling. So if we click yes, do you want to place an area of flat ceiling? Let's say no, because we're going to put a vaulted ceiling in. Do you want to place an area of vaulted ceiling? Click yes. So the ceiling dimensions wizard appears. So here again, we'll want to check the rafter centers and the plastering and decoration options here and insulation options. So I'm going to click finish, leave that all set as it is. So again, look at the command window so you know what to do. It's telling us to click on the eaves line. So this is so it knows where the bottom of the slope is and where the top of the slope is. So click on the eaves line of the roof. Now it's telling us to give the start point. So in exactly the same way as we did with the perimeter insulation, we're going to click around the interior of the extension to show where the ceiling is going to go. So find an endpoint, click and place on each of the 4 corners of the extension. You can either click back to where you started, or I'll teach you another shortcut key here. You can click the C key, C stands for close, to complete that area of vaulted ceiling. Once you do that, this box pops up again. Do you want to place another area of vaulted ceiling? We're just doing the one for now, so we can click no. And then all of the other options will appear. So it may be that you need to place purlins, but for now we'll click no. Binders, again we'll click no. And rainwater pipes. So you can be estimating all of those roof accessories at this point. For speed, we're just skipping through all of that for now. So now if you have a look at your 3D model, you can see your roof's been placed on there. So just to recap, if you want to rotate your model, hold down your left mouse button and turn and move your cursor left to right to turn it around. You can also go bottom to top, top to bottom to look at it from different angles. You can also zoom into your model. So using your scroll wheel in exactly the same way as you do on the drawing area, scroll towards the screen to zoom in, scroll away from the screen to zoom out. So there we can see our lean-to extension coming together. If you ever get your 3D view in a funny position or you want to reset it, click the home button on the 3D view window. That will bring it back to its original view, which of course matches your drawing here. If you create a 3D view that you want to save and email to a client, print out to show the client, you can click the save button here and you can save this view of the 3D model as an image file, which you can then import into other documents or do whatever you need to with. If you have the full version of PlansXpress, you have this textured mode. So I'm working in textured mode at the moment. It might be if you're using takeoff version, you just have this solid view. One of the perks of the full version is you get a textured view, and you also get a wireframe model and a transparent model. But the textured view is quite nice. Okay, so of course we should save our drawing. So if we go to the File menu, click Save and Save As. I'm going to save this as Training Drawing 2, so I'm saving a second version of the drawing. If you number your drawings each time you save them, it means you've got a number of different drawings at different stages, so if you need to go back and make changes, it's easier to do that, easier to retrace your steps. So regularly save your drawing, give it a different version number each time. Okay, so congratulations, you finished module 1 of the Takeoff and Estimate software skills course. So thank you for going through that with me. Okay, so let's run through our quiz questions just to recap some of the main points from today's session. The mini quizzes are totally anonymous. I can just see the percentage of people who've replied, so it's just for fun. just gives me the opportunity to talk through some important points and recap some of the main things to take away from today's session. So just for fun, if you can click your answers, don't worry if you don't get them all right. Okay, so question number 1 is, what types of file can you import into PlansXpress? So it says, actually, please select all that apply. You only need to click one, actually. Can you import a CAD file, a PDF file, an image file, or all of the above? Okay, so a fairly easy one to get you started. The correct answer, of course, is all of the above. So whether you've got a CAD file, a PDF file, or an image file. So I've given some examples there, a PNG, a bitmap, JPEG, or GIF. All of those file types can be imported into PlansXpress. Okay, well done, good start. So the next question is all about using the mouse. What can I use the mouse scroll wheel for? So this is a multiple answer question, actually. Can I use the mouse scroll wheel for dragging the drawing page, for selecting an item on screen, for zooming in and out of the drawing page, or for drawing a perpendicular wall? So tick all of the answers that you think apply. What can I use the mouse scroll wheel for? Okie dokes, you've correctly identified that the mouse scroll wheel can be used for dragging the drawing page. So if you hold down the mouse scroll wheel, you can move the drawing page around, and also for zooming in and out of the drawing page. So the first and third options are the correct ones. So the important thing to remember when you're zooming in and out is that the zoom in will focus on the position of your cursor. So place your cursor where you want to zoom. Okie dokes, well done. Question number 3 is all about snap points. And this is a point that I only touched on, really. So if you want to locate a snap point on an item on screen, so if you want to click onto an endpoint or an intersection point, but PlansXpress is showing dimensions, not snap points, what should I do? Should I press the F7 key, click the snap button, or either of the above? So they're actually either option is correct. So I don't think I actually showed you the snap button in the end. So the F7 key switches on snap mode, or at the bottom right of your drawing screen there is a snap button that also switches on snap mode. So either way, that's how you switch on snap mode. Okay, brilliant. 2 more questions to go. Okay, so this one's about when you're drawing your walls, what is the justification of the walls? Is it the reason you're drawing your walls? Is it the side of the wall you're placing with your mouse clicks? Is it the external side of the wall, or is it the end point of the wall? What is it we mean when we're talking about justification in PlansXpress? Okay, there's definitely some more thinking going into that one. The correct answer, as you have identified, is the second statement there. So the justification is the side of the wall you're placing with your mouse clicks. So the 2 things you need to really think about when you're placing your walls is the external side set correctly? So the external side will obviously control where the external and the internal leaf of the wall go. So the arrow identifies that. And the justification of the walls is highlighted by the red line on the wall as you're drawing it. So you might need to use the drop-down boxes at the top of the screen on the ribbon when you're placing your walls to check the justification is correct, and also the external side. Also, justification can be changed using the J key on your keyboard. As you get more confident using the software, then the shortcut keys will really speed up your drawing. So do try and practice those. So J key changes the justification, and F for flip changes the external side of your walls. Okay, last question. In PlansXpress, quite often you're going to need to cancel what you're doing. So if you are drawing a wall and you don't want to place any more corners, more stretches of wall, you might need to cancel it. Or if you're placing a door and you only want to place one, after you've placed it, you'll need to cancel the door drawing tool. So what do you press to cancel? Is it the F key, the shift key, the return key, or the escape key? And you've all answered before I've even finished reading the answers. So that's great. It looks like you're all really confident actually with these things. So yeah, escape key to drop whatever tool it is that you're using. So brilliant. Thanks for joining in with that. It shows that you have picked up a lot during today's session. So thank you for taking part. Okay, so yeah, I'll send over a copy of the video, as I said, hopefully today, but it might be at the start of tomorrow morning. So if you want to go back over anything, that would be really good. Obviously, the more time you spend using it, playing around with it, the happier you're going to feel. And it actually becomes quite fun, actually. It doesn't take long to develop your skills to a point where you can play around with things, do your own designs. Maybe you've got a project that you're about to quote it for, or something easy that you want to do, maybe just your own house or something. The more you play around with it, the quicker you'll become at using it, and you'll start to really feel the benefits.